Well, we just got even more bad news for Donald Trump. It just keeps piling up. My goodness. And for this, I want to bring in legal analyst Aaron Parnas. Great to be with you again, Aaron. So break down the latest on this. It relates to E. Jean Carroll's case. And we're also going to talk a little bit more about a pattern emerging here with Trump's now potentially former lawyer, Alina Habba.
Yeah, so we now learned the reason why the court denied Alina Habba's mistrial in the E. Jean Carroll case. If you remember, during trial, Habba questioned Carroll about several DM messages on Twitter and emails that Carroll allegedly deleted because they contained death threats. And when Carroll said that she deleted them on the witness stand, Habba made a big fuss about it in the courtroom and asked for a mistrial over a discovery violation. But we now know that Habba's team actually knew about the deleted messages for almost a year before trial, January of 2023. And the court essentially said in its written opinion, you knew about this for so long, yet you brought it up in the middle of trial to make a spectacle. And the messages themselves would not have impacted Trump's case. So the mistrial motion was swiftly denied.
So explain for the audience a little bit of the context here with Alina Habba and how this wasn't her only failure in this trial.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, it seems like these delays in bringing up issues are deliberate because the first time when Alina Habba first took the case, she failed to bring up an immunity defense. Trump had wanted to assert that he was immune from liability because the actions in the E. Jean Carroll case were taken while he was president of the United States. But Trump's team did not bring that defense up until just a few months before trial. And that issue went all the way up to the Second Circuit. And no one touched whether Trump was actually immune or not because the appellate court simply said, you waited too long. And this is now a repeat where she just simply waited too long to bring up the issue about these deleted messages and emails.
My goodness. So a few different clips I want to play for the audience and then get Aaron's response to them. We'll start with this from a recent interview that Alina Habba did on Eric Bolling's show on Newsmax. Then we'll break it down.
Did I get this right that she was initially awarded $5 million and they came back
for sexual assault? And then I want the world to remember something. We're in a planet where George Floyd got 40-something million. People that have wrongful death get 10 million. But this jury awarded for defamation for a sitting president to deny an allegation, to say, I didn't do that. I don't remember meeting this woman. And this actually works against sexual assault victims who are real victims. That's what his statement said. As a sitting president, he had to address the press. Then the other statement was on the lawn going, answering reporters. Again, he says, I did not do this. $83 million. $83 million. People die and get less. Die and get less.
Yeah.
It's Trump derangement syndrome and beyond.
Yeah, man. Get it out of New York if you can move that venue. If you get another trial, if you get it right back out of Milan.
Get out of New York, for sure.
Yeah, right.
So Aaron, give me your response to that clip.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really make much sense. The jury gave an $83 million verdict in this case, partly because it wanted to send a message to Donald Trump and to others that you can't lie about someone else's character and damage their reputation and get away with it. The verdict, when you break it down, it was $18 million in compensatory damages or damages to Carroll's reputation and $63 million in punitive damages, which are meant to punish Trump. And when you compare that to other wrongful death cases or other lawsuits around the country, it is a lot more than your average lawsuit. But Donald Trump is also worth a lot more than your average defendant. And if you had a $10 million verdict here, that's a drop in the bucket for Trump, who claims he's worth $4 billion. $83 million really hit him where it hurts. And that's what the jury intended to do here.
Yeah, and we saw this all play out. Trump would not stop during this trial. He was posting about her 30, 40, 50 times a day, just nuts stuff on social media. Then that ruling came through, he stopped. And so clearly they picked the correct number, because you do have to take into account what the person is going to actually feel and care about. And Trump wouldn't care about something comparable to other cases with people with smaller net worths. I also want to play a clip we've looked at in the past that is sort of core to Abba's argument as to why this trial was so unfair and it's a Biden-directed somehow witch hunt. And here's what she had to say after this decision.
Attorney General Letitia James, and now this. Weeks. Why? Because President Trump is leading in the polls, and now we see what you get in New York. So don't get it twisted, whoever asked me that question. I am so proud to stand with President Trump, but I am not proud to stand with what I saw in that courtroom. Ms. Habba, is the I'm not finished. Let me just finish and I'll take questions, please. Before I walked into court, that judge decided that every single defense President Trump had, we were not allowed to raise in front of the jury. It is in writing, and I encourage the journalists, the real journalists, to take the minute to look at his orders. There was no proof. And I couldn't prove that she didn't bring in the dress. There was no DNA. There was no expert. My experts were denied. Two of them were denied to come in.
So I've touched on this a little bit, Aaron, but explain to the audience again why that argument doesn't make sense of it was so unfair and they blocked us from arguing that Trump didn't sexually assault E. Jean Carroll in this defamation trial.
Yeah, I mean, the answer is simple. You just don't get two bites at the apple. They argued that they essentially tried to relitigate that Trump was liable for sexually abusing Carroll when a jury already found him liable for that fact. You can't now, in a subsequent trial, go back and say, hold up, everything that jury found a year ago, let's talk about it again. The fact of the matter is Trump was liable for sexual abuse, and the court made clear that Carroll and Trump can't reopen that issue during the defamation trial.
And we did get a social media post, now sort of old news, but essentially it was Trump saying that his team is looking to hire different law firm, talking to law firms. Does that mean that Alina Habba, even though I'm seeing her pop up in public appearances still, is she on the outs or what's going on there?
So I think Alina Habba was hired initially to kind of be more of a legal spokesperson for Donald Trump rather than an actual attorney in the courtroom. There's a reason that she only litigated the New York Attorney General civil fraud trial and briefly this defamation case. It's because she doesn't have the experience that some of the other attorneys on his team have, especially when it comes to appellate practice. So it's not surprising to see that Trump is going to go a different way for the appeal, especially after Habba already lost a key issue on appeal in this Carroll case. I think Habba stays around, but I could totally see her getting layered to some, or relegated to just a more spokesperson role on Fox News every night rather than an actual attorney role inside the courtroom.
And it has been long said about Trump, often he'll see someone he likes on TV who's sort of saying it in his Trumpian type of way and go, oh, that's the lawyer I want. And so maybe that's a fitting position for Habba. And then is it a fair assessment based on what you observed in this trial that Habba actually not just didn't help Trump a lot, but actually hurt him and is in part to blame for this devastating $83.3 million decision?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I think Habba's actions in the courtroom certainly didn't help the case, but ultimately she was, in my opinion, doing just what her boss wanted her to do. She acted like Trump as an attorney would act. And I think Trump was happy with her performance, even though her performance likely was to his detriment. But then again, defending a client like Trump, he was his own worst enemy throughout the entire trial. So the reason he lost was because of himself, not because of his attorney's performance.
Where can people find you, Aaron?
On all my social media platforms, just at Aaron Parnas.